Even though Elden Ring is my favorite Souls-like game, it's the one I've played the least amount of because there's so much content and it's such a commitment. But regardless, Game of the Year at GameCon, and also in my tarnished heart, beating a boss in this game, especially if it's with a build that you're not really familiar with and doesn't do that much damage, is one of the greatest feelings ever. And I've had sex before. So after jumping back into the game after months of not playing it, I decided to do a build that I've never tried in any Souls game before. A build that you would never wish upon your worst enemy. A bow-only run. And I was gonna beat the game. Which I did get very close, but I haven't beat the Elden Beast yet because I can't last long enough before he sends out the bulk variety of orbs from Costco to pound my tarnished cheeks into the Elden Water. I think that's what it's called, Elden Water. Regardless, I do defeat the rest of the main bosses and some useful side bosses, all with the bow, and also I'm using no cheese or summons. I have to take a moment though to gander upon the beauty of Limgrave. It's been a long time and I was feeling very nostalgic. To me, Dark Souls type games are some of the best games ever made because there's no luck involved, so if you dodge and hit when you're supposed to, you're probably going to win. So if you lose, you have no one to blame but yourself because you should have dodged right and you should have hit that arrow. There's people who can beat bosses with their eyes closed, and there's people like me who play like they have their eyes closed because I'm nowhere near as good as I thought I was. I used to kill speedruns back on Dark Souls 1 and I thought I was so good at the game. Maybe I was wrong about how good I was. Maybe I am just average. Was my ex-girlfriend right about that? No time to worry about it because I gotta make a video right now. So the first thing I did was I headed straight to Caelid because the serpent bow is there, and I went the serpent bow because it's a perfect bow for the early game, and I had to hop off my horse to walk on the stick because I was too much of a pussy. I knew I was gonna fall. You just do a quick little hop, skip, and a jump through the Scarlet Rot, follow this route here, and then right there at the end of the cave is the serpent bow. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna head to the other side of Caelid and go up this tower right here because there's a talesman up here that is the best talesman for any bow build you're gonna want. The next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna head to the top half of Caelid to where the sleeping dragon is, so that way I can go over there and pound on his shins like I'm a razor scooter. Once the sleeping dragon is defeated, I'm going to use all the runes that I got from that to level up my health and endurance, because it's really the only thing I'm going to be needing throughout the whole thing since the bow doesn't scale that well with any of the stats. I'm mainly going to be wanting to use all of my runes on arrows, because arrows are pretty expensive and you use a lot more of them than you really think you do. He used a pole to block it. He's strategizing. He has intelligence. He's not just an AI anymore. Okay. This mighty shot does so much damage, actually. It's more damage than I thought I was going to do with a bow. Oh, he didn't put it up in time. He needed a Viagra for that shit. Didn't have one. You have to wait for the perfect shot to line up with this. You can't just go willy-nilly with it. Oh, what's he doing? What's he doing? He's lollygagging. Oh, he blocked that one. He's not lollygagging. He's paying full attention. He is far away. Is he de-aggroed? What is happening? Oh, he remembered we were battling. He zoned out in the middle of our fight. I decided to fight the Tree Sentinel because I figured it'd be really good practice since I've never used a bow in any Dark Souls game before, and it put up a really good fight and prepared me a lot for the Draconic Tree Sentinel that I was going to see later on in the game. If he puts it up, that means you can get a free arrow on him. Oh, there we go again. He's just going to stand there and take it. He's too busy guarding. Have some balls about it. Throw some offensive abilities out there. No, he's destroying the church. What are you, a madman? God is watching you, alright? You can't be acting like that. Oh, no, no, no. What is happening? The triple? I feel like the most annoying part about this run is going to be having to farm up souls for arrows. I was definitely right about that. Buying arrows was definitely one of the more stressful things about this, because anytime I would fight a boss, if I died, I would have to go back and get arrows, because I have to use at least 50 of each variety of arrows to even think about doing any damage. Please! Ooh, let's go, let's go. First boss down. I honestly thought that was going to take me more attempts than it did. Now, my next fight was against Margit, and obviously he's a little bit more difficult than the Tree Sentinel, but it wasn't too bad. I only died like twice against him. These bosses at the beginning were not super difficult to deal with. They're just kind of preparation for the other bosses. I will say that Margit was definitely way easier than what I had coming up. We all know that the last 4 bosses of the game are definitely the biggest stinkers in the series. One thing I definitely struggled with was getting hit by his knives while I was trying to shoot him with an arrow, because I just have a bad habit of picking what time to shoot the arrow because I'm not really used to it yet. Now, I'd actually realized that I forgot to buy any elemental arrows when I was in Caelid. I was supposed to buy fire arrows, get a cookbook for bloodbone arrows, and also get poison arrows, and I didn't get any of them. This guy looks like he could use a hand. Is he actually just gonna sit over there this whole time? He's just gonna roll to the side. He took cover. He's being very tactical about it. It's actually kind of easy to keep my distance against him. I mean, he's taking about the exact same amount as Margit, but he's just way tankier. So when he's doing his little whirlwind dance, I can't shoot arrows at him. It's not a big deal. It's just slightly inconvenient. He's going to cut off his arm about it. He's clearly tilted from this. I mean, I really don't know if it was that serious. So he's definitely going to be able to do some shit from range. I still have 5 flasks left, too. This is actually going insanely easy. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, that move is so annoying. This is actually going insanely easy. Huh. Dude, this guy's actually taking so long to die. And just think they're only going to get tankier from here. I need to upgrade my weapon. I've already used 70 arrows on this guy. And they're fire arrows too, so think about that. That's a lot. Think about how tanky this man is. He's a grafted ass dude. And you can tell. Alright, one more. Boom, there we go. Finally. Yeah, this arena is kind of big, so it made it a little bit easier to just run from him. Godric's Great Rune. I forget what the runes do. Yeah, I shouldn't even worry about it, honestly. It's like a late game thing. Let's see, 20,000 souls. I could level up twice, or I could buy a bunch of arrows. I'm using a bow only, so therefore I'm only worried about bows. Anything else can just go screw itself. Now, I did fight some of the side bosses as well. I'm not really going to show those too much. I'm just going to show like the main bosses. Otherwise, this video is going to be like 3 hours long, but I tried to fight this Crucible Knight, and he kept just absolutely destroying me. He was impeccably low. And I'm impeccably dead. Now, next up is the Red Wolf of Radagon, and honestly, this boss fight was a lot harder than I initially thought it was going to be, mainly because the Red Wolf is just so agile. It's very hard to hit him with the arrows. I missed like 90% of them. That's some baloney, man. Dude, this thing prances around like a reindeer. Just stand still. Dude, is right now an appropriate time to be crouching? Who are you hiding from, man? When I'd already went and got the cookbook for the Bloodbone arrows as well. I forgot to record that part though, but just so you know, I went and got the cookbook. I have Bloodbone arrows. The main reason I was struggling in this fight was because I didn't upgrade my bow, but also because I kept missing arrows. I also like the idea of a huge dog that casts all kinds of spells and is like a wizard basically, and his biggest attack is he just bites you like a normal dog would. But altogether, definitely the hardest fight I've had so far in the game, but the next fight was going to be Ranella, and I decided I'm not going to play against Ranella quite just yet. I'm gonna fight Radon first, get Radon's bow, and then fight Ranella. I also did use the summons in the Radon fight because I didn't know if that counted in like no summons runs. I'm not really too sure. I'm not really that deep into the Elden Ring community. To be fair, they didn't really do much anyways because Radon still went straight for me even though the whole team was there. So if using summons in this fight is a bad thing, okay, I'm sorry for that, but as you can see, I am visibly frustrated in this picture right here. Mainly because this is the first boss I fought on the next day. I'm sure you notice I was wearing a different shirt. This is the next day, and I am not having a good time. I fought Radon for a good 2 hours, probably, and considering he was the first boss I fought when I hopped on for that day, it really just set the mood that it was not going to be a good time. It is kind of funny, though, to see the faces you make when you're gaming when you don't even realize that you're making them. God, I hope I don't look like that in public. I'd say the main thing that won me this fight was the fact that the arena I'm in is just so huge. Every other boss that I've fought so far, their arenas have been pretty small, especially Margit and the Wolf. I was able to just ride away on my horse while shooting arrows at him, just chipping him down ever so slightly while just dodging everything because there's no way he's gonna hit me from that range. I say after I spent 2 hours on him. I actually ended up fighting him for so long that he jumped up in the air and turned into a meteor strike for a second time. I didn't even know he could do that twice. I thought that was just his phase for half health, but apparently he can do it more than once. For Radon, I actually had quite a bit of trouble hitting him with the arrows as well because I was shooting him from so far away. I mean, he has a huge hitbox, but it can't hit from that distance because it falls off. And then immediately after beating Radon, I went back to the table so that I could turn in his remembrance and get his bow because I really need that for the Ranella fight because I can stun lock her with it. With Ranella's first phase, you had no idea how badly I just wanted to pull out a weapon and hit these fools, but I just decided to sit back and snipe them from a distance using the aim. The aim on the bow actually comes in handy way more than you'd actually think. I was also doing such low DPS with my arrows that I had to knock her down a total of 4 times times to actually get to her second phase. But luckily with my newly acquired bow, it was pretty easy once I actually got her into that second phase. I only died once against this boss. This is how small her health bar was when she went into her second phase as well. So you can imagine the frustration I was feeling whenever she was took 2 arrows away from dying. But then once I got to the second phase, the Radagon bow just started absolutely destroying her, just chunking her health bar, 500 damage every single hit. When you hit her with an arrow too, it completely knocks her off her feet, so she can't even use things like Comet Azure. But then other times she'll use the 200 IQ strategy of slightly moving to the left or right, making you miss your arrow, so that was a little annoying to deal with. But overall, pretty easy boss considering the build I was going. I think if I was using the regular serpent bow, this would not be easy at all. One hit from the Radagon bow and it'll send her to the splash zone and you'll make a girl wet for once. Overall, a pretty easy boss fight if you get this bow first. Also, what I'm going to do with the remembrances of all these other bosses, I'm most likely just going to sell them all for runes so that way I can buy more arrows and health. Next up on my hit list was Tree Sentinel Part 2. As you can see, things were getting serious, so I had to see in 2020 for this fight. And then immediately taking off my glasses the second I die. But honestly, this fight went pretty smoothly considering I had some practice against the Tree Sentinel the day before. I went for the Radagon bow for this fight as well, just because it dealt so much damage, and also I found out if you jump with it, it shoots a lot faster as well. With that being said though, a lot of his abilities are just super predictable and easy to dodge, and most of the time he just spams them multiple times in a row, so you can just prepare for it easily and then open up for the gaps where you know there's going to be an ability able to use. Honestly though, these next couple of bosses aren't even going to really be that hard, because after I beat this guy, I can then get the black bow, which the black bow is going to be what I'm using for most of the playthrough. And then the funniest part about it was that I didn't even bother going and getting the black bow. I completely forgot, got sidetracked, just went to go fight Godfrey right off the rip. Now, I did die to him once, but being able to hit him with 2 free Radagon spears right off the bat really puts you pretty far ahead, and then you just kind of have to dodge to the right the entire time. Also realized that I randomly just gained like 4,000 souls in the middle of the fight. I don't know what that came from. I don't know. I've seriously never had that happen before. Now, the first fight with Godfrey has never really been a problem for me. It's usually when I see him later on in the game when he's a problem. This variation, all you have to do is really dodge to the right and probably run away every now and then. Overall, a relatively easy fight, especially with the Radagon spear, because it just does so much damage right now in this point in the game. But now with Godfrey down, my next step is to grab the black bow and then head over to Volcano Manor so that way I can defeat Rykard. Now the black bow actually has an art of war on it called Barrage, which is really good because it's like rapid fire arrows, so you can apply poison and bleed faster. Now sadly, before we fight Rykard, we're going to have to deal with the pregnant Pillsbury Doughboy, which honestly wasn't too bad considering he's a huge target, so basically none of my arrows missed. He's also not very mobile, so I could just sit there and spam Barrage right in his face the entire time. He does have a few moves that are kind of difficult to dodge, but honestly he's not really that bad of a boss. As long as I was able to survive the Mega Roll 9000, I was basically good for the most part. He doesn't really have any other abilities that one-shot you other than the Omega Roll. I mean, honestly, this guy is the complete definition of ROFL. He rolls for so long, too, and also, halfway through the fight, I switched back to the Radagon bow just because it does more damage. I just wanted to get the fight over with a little bit faster. Now, unfortunately, right when he was 2 arrows away from dying, he decided to roll again, and I decided to shoot him through the wall, and it actually worked. Whenever Marshmallow was finally down, I knew it was time to run around Volcano Manor and grab some more Somber Smithing Stones to upgrade my bow, and then go fight Rykard. Now, to me, Rykard has always been one of the easiest bosses in the game because they give you a free weapon to be able to fight him with, and you can have him stun locked for the majority of the fight. Now, I went ahead and used the weapon because I don't think the bow does any damage to him. Now that I think about it, I didn't even try to use the bow. I just assumed it didn't do any damage to him, so I don't even know if it does. I've always just been told that you have to fight Rykard with this weapon, so I just assumed that no other weapons do damage to him. It probably would have helped to actually pull out a weapon and try, but I actually beat Rykard on my very first try running through here, so there wasn't any redoing it. It's also pretty ironic that I beat this boss on my first try, because this boss is the same boss where my sister stopped playing the game entirely. I don't know what else to say other than I guess she just couldn't handle the heavy grind set mentality of Elden Ring. No, I'm just joking, obviously. She was lagging, I saw it. If she wasn't lagging, she totally would have beat the boss first try, 0 hits. I mean, what can I say other than it just runs in the family? I guess good Elden Ring gameplay is in the DNA. But yeah, not too much to really say about this boss since I beat it first try. I mean, I just used the good weapon and it was easy. Next up on the hit list is Morgott, which I recorded the whole fight so I can confidently say I died at least 5 times to him, but using the Radagon bow made this fight a whole lot more comfortable because he has big windows that leaves him open for a spear to clock him right in the jaw. And as you saw in the beginning of the fight, I could get a lot of free spears on him before the fight even started, so I could get a little bit of a head start because of my range. Basically, anytime he uses a move, you just want to jump shoot him with a spear and then roll right after because he's probably going to throw a knife or a spear right back at you. This fight really just comes down to how good you can dodge all of his abilities. If you're good at fighting Morgott, you shouldn't have a problem in this fight. It doesn't really matter what you're running as a build. Any fight that's in a huge arena is definitely going to be pretty one-sided for the person using the bow and arrow. Also, it's a really good thing that I won the fight right here because I was running super low on arrows and I would have had to go kill other bosses or just farm up some runes so I could buy more arrows. I did end up running out of Radagon spears, but luckily I did have bloodbone arrows and poison arrows at my disposal as well. So all I had to do was switch to the black bow and just use barrage to take him out. I mean, he only had a little bit of health anyways, so it's all good. He did also make me clench my asshole for just a few milliseconds because I almost died at the very end of this fight. I was out of flask, but luckily I just used barrage to build up bleed and it was all good. I was insanely happy. I honestly didn't think the Morgott fight was going to go as good as it did, but right after that I went over to fight the twins. You have to fight the twins to be able to activate the runes. Now my first playthrough on Elden Ring, I realized I never even used the runes because no one told me to. The twins were really easy as well because the Radagon spear just completely knocks them off their feet, so it was a relatively easy fight. Just single one out and then just keep hitting them with spears. Now, after I got Morgott's Great Rune, I went over to the mountaintops of the Giants, and I fought the Ice Dragon first. I don't even know why I really fought it, I guess just for souls. If I didn't have bleed for this fight would have been insanely hard, because this dude was so tanky, but basically any dragon fight with the bow is going to be relatively easy, because you can just ride away while shooting arrows at it. Most of them are going to miss because it's a dragon, and it just kind of moves around real fast, but honestly, it doesn't really matter all that much, because most likely you're going to have 99 arrows anyways, so most dragon fights are going to be easy. Now next up is the Fire Giant. For the first half of the fight, to break his leg, I used the Radagon Spear just because it deals more damage, so it'd make it go a little bit faster. But in his second phase, the Fire Giant is actually weak to poison, which is perfect for me because I stocked up a ton on poison arrows. For this fight, I also popped a Rune Arc as well, just to give me a little bit more health, because I died twice to him from him just like straight up one-shotting me. He does have really slow abilities, but they hit so hard, so if you get hit once, you're basically dead. Having extra health made this fight a whole lot easier, because it wasn't even really his shield that was hitting me, it was more likely his fireballs, especially in his second phase when he gets on his hands and knees and just starts shooting fireballs out of his palms. You definitely do want to get behind him for this fight, though, so that way you can hit your arrows more. Ooh, that is disgusting. Once you do get into his second phase, though, I'm pretty sure if you hit him in the eyeball, it does bonus damage. I would not know, though, because I never hit him in the eyeball once because I have terrible aim. I did realize after I killed the dragon, I didn't spend any of my runes on arrows. I spent it all on health, so I only had like 24 poison arrows, but luckily it was enough to beat him. Once you actually have him poisoned, it just starts chunking his health bar like crazy because he's super weak to poison damage. So honestly, if you poison him, this fight should just be easy in general. Once he got low enough, I decided to pull out the bloodbone arrows and just hit him with a bleed damage to just take him out right there, because I didn't feel like waiting on the poison to take him out slowly. Next up is the Godskin Duo, and let me tell you, this build made this fight so easy, it was unreal. This was literally the easiest fight I've ever had against the Godskin Duo. The Pillsbury Doughboy, no joke, just sits right in front of you while his skinny sidekick just stands there watching the entire thing go down. Sometimes he throws a fireball, but they're super easy to dodge. Now, the first time I tried this boss, I actually lost because I sent the skinny one to his second phase and then he just destroyed me. So if you keep him in his first phase, then he literally doesn't do anything. It's just the fat guy and you can just spam arrows at him because he doesn't even dodge them. I actually also lost my Rune Arc because I died to the dragon on the bridge running over here to this boss fight. And then I also died to those Stormcaller Knights in the hallway as well, so I honestly died more on the way to the boss fight than I did at the actual boss fight, because those Windstorm Soldier guys are no joke. Also decided to just pop a Rune Arc in the middle of this fight because I was that confident I was going to win. Seriously, this boss fight was really easy. I don't really have too much to say about it. Which it honestly feels really weird to say that the Godskin Duo was one of the easiest boss fights in a run, but I mean, the bow it felt like was just built for this boss fight in particular. Especially whenever the fat Godskin would just start rolling right in front of me and I could just sit there and bombard him with arrows the entire time. It seriously didn't even matter. He was just taking them right to the face. It's like he wanted to lose or something. But seriously, just proc poison and then keep procking bleed on him. He can't really dodge your arrows at all, so it's super easy. I mean, it was just a cakewalk. What even is a cakewalk, honestly? Has anybody ever walked up to you and been like, hey man, let's go on a cakewalk sometime? You'd be like, what the hell is a cakewalk? Sounds like you're just walking through a bakery or something, which I mean, I guess that would be pretty easy, so it makes sense that it's a term for something that's super easy, just like this boss fight. Next up was the boss that I was dreading from the get-go. I knew he was going to be so hard to hit because he's so agile and he dodges basically all of my arrows. Honestly, I don't really have any tips or pointers for this. You just kind of have to get good against Malekith. I learned that the hard way. There's not really an easy way to do it. You just kind of just have to keep running at him until you memorize all of his combos and how to dodge them. Malekith had taken me the longest out of any boss so far in this run. He took me literally from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. to beat this boss. It wasn't 4 hours total though, because a lot of the times I was just having to run back and buy more arrows because I kept running out of arrows because he would just dodge most of them. The first part of this phase was relatively easy. It was the second part where I just kept dying repeatedly. Honestly, if it was not the weekend when I was fighting this boss, I probably would have had to wait till the next day to beat him, but luckily it was the weekend, so I was able to stay up super late and just destroy him in the long run. Dude, it's 3 in the morning. Give me a break, please. How much health was that? How much health was that? That was a pussy hair. I don't know if you knew this, but pussy hair is actually the shortest unit of measurement, so if a boss lives with 1 HP like that, it's a pussy hair. When I finally did end up beating Malekith, I was just overcome with glee because this boss was definitely the hardest I've fought so far. Radagon was probably the second hardest. This guy was definitely the hardest. So far, anyways. There was more to come. Like I said earlier, the last 4 bosses of the game are definitely the hardest ones in the entire game, but now there's 1 down, only 3 more to go. Oh my, thank God. Oh my lord. What time is it? 3:05. Let's get it. Oh my lord. So tomorrow, I'm gonna wake up. I only got 3 bosses left. Oh, thank goodness, dude. My hands are sweating so bad. I need to go sleep. Wake up early. Get these bosses done and over with. Edit this video. Maybe it'll be out Monday, maybe Tuesday. Dude, all it took was that 1 bleed proc. Just 1 bleed proc on Malekith. It's over. The worst part about it, too, is I've been sitting here for like an hour playing in complete silence because my headset died a long time ago and I can't plug it in because my controller's plugged in. It's a whole fiasco, but I've been sitting here playing in silence, which kind of helped me focus a little bit. I will say I'm having a lot of fun, though. Still here at 3 a.m. having fun. I'd even go as far as to say it was a real swell time. Now, with that being said, I'm going to bed. I'll see y'all tomorrow. Next up, we got Sir Gideon. Now, this guy was not as hard as Malekith, but he was definitely way harder than most of the other bosses, mainly because he was a human-sized character, which makes it very difficult to hit him with a bow. Most of the time, he just dodges out of the way. I don't know why, but it always feels like the AI's roll is like 100 times better than mine because it dodges everything, while mine only dodges sometimes. Like, sometimes those golden rings he throws will still hit me, even though I dodge. But, I mean, it is AI, so it's obviously better than us. I mean, they're gonna take all our jobs here in a few years, so it doesn't surprise me that it's also taking my Elden Ring job away from me. And yes, I know this isn't my job because I don't get paid for it, but you can help me out by subscribing to this channel. If you've made it this far, might as well as subscribe. Also felt like I had a lot of practice dodging against Malekith yesterday, so dodging against Sir Gideon wasn't too bad. It is a different form of damage because he shoots a lot of spells at you, while Malekith just does a triple backflip and throws a sword at you. But regardless, he definitely wasn't easy, but he definitely wasn't that bad. I know I used the black bow for the majority of this fight, but you can also use the Radagon spears because you can knock him off his feet with that as well. But the problem is with that is the bow shoots very slow and he's an expert at dodging, so he can just dodge it most of the time. So I feel like it's not as smart to use the Radagon spear in this fight. But I just tried to inflict poison and bleed as much as I possibly could. I mean, that was basically my whole plan going into this gameplay anyways. Just spam effects on him. If you keep shooting arrows at him, some of them are bound to hit him. They're more likely to hit him if you're up close, but honestly, it's probably not a good idea to get up close with him because he has a lot of spells that can just straight up one-shot you. especially with the build I was going, because I was going basically no armor, no resistances whatsoever. It was just a glass cannon arrow build. Also, before I fight Godfrey, I know damn well I'm going to have my black bow at plus 10, so I went back to Moog's Palace to get a Somber Smithing Stone so I could upgrade it to 10. Also upgrade my health a little bit more because I know damn well Godfrey is a certified one-shotter, so I know I have to be super safe against this guy. Also threw on a little bit more armor just so I would be tankier against him, because against Godfrey you really want to be tanky, but I don't know if it was a good idea because I was a little bit slower, but this guy was definitely super hard. Not as hard as Malekith, he still reigns #1 as the hardest boss so far. Don't get me wrong though, Godfrey was definitely super hard in his own way, but I developed a pattern relatively early of just dodging to the right every single time. Also jumping and shooting, it was really helping me out a lot. There was no way I could use the Radagon bow or barrage in this fight though, because he doesn't stand still long enough for me to be able to use either of those. Same strategy against him though, just proc bleed, proc poison, and just kind of let him do their thing. I was also using some fire arrows in this run as well. I don't think he's weak to fire, but I was still just using them because they do a little bit more damage with every hit of the bow. I know bleed will proc more damage once it actually like goes off on its mark. But I still feel like the fire arrows were helping out a lot more because proccing bleed was definitely taking a very long time on Godfrey. I don't know if he has some sort of bleed resistance or not, but it was definitely helping out a lot with the fire arrows, I felt like. Sometimes you just gotta trust your gut with those kinds of things, and I'm glad I did because I actually beat him once I started switching to the fire arrows. Looking at some other people's bow-only runs, a lot of people use cold arrows. I never wrote and got the cookbook for it. I don't know if that would have been good against him or not, but maybe it was worth giving it a try, but I already beat him, so. Now, after memorizing all of his patterns for the first stage, it became relatively easy, but the second stage, I still have no idea how I even beat it. A lot of his moves are super unpredictable, and he winds them up for a very long time. Especially this move right here where he lifts up his leg like he's a dog about to take a piss on a bush. It's very annoying because it's super long and unpredictable. Kind of like me. But I still feel like this entire fight was kind of just luck. I was just panic rolling like 99% of the times because I hadn't memorized his moves by this point in the run yet. The main thing that was getting me was the long delays on all of his moves, so I'd usually end up just getting hit with a grab, getting thrown up into the air, then seismic tossed like I was playing against Machoke in Pokemon. But inflicting poison right here at the end helped me out a whole lot because I was able to just kind of run away from him and let poison do its thing. I did come insanely close to dying right here at the end, but luckily I was able to pull it off, alright? And then after this one, we only had one boss left. For tips against Godfrey, I still have no idea. I really don't know how I beat the second phase. The first phase, just keep dodging to the right, though. Let's go, dude. Oh, my lord. That took me so long. Oh, my lord. My heart is racing, dude. Oh, my god. 300,000 runes? This game is awesome, but that was so hard. And now we move on to the most embarrassing part of this run. I've been trying to beat Radagon and the Elden Beast for 3 straight days. I've beaten Radagon maybe 2 or 3 times, but every single time I get to the Elden Beast, I don't have enough resources to actually beat him. You're supposed to switch to the Radagon bow and use the air volley to take him out since he's a big target, but I can't survive that long because once I beat Radagon, I'm completely out of flasks and I'm at like a dickhead of health. I've been playing this game non-stop for the past 2 weeks. Alright, I'm done. I'm done, alright? Yeah, you can say I pussied out, and I'll admit, yeah, I did pussy out. Fuck this boss fight. I may come back and try and beat it again at some point, but right now we have Starfield coming out in the next 2 days, so I have to make a video on that. I have other videos I want to make other than Elden Ring, although I do love Elden Ring, alright? It's one of the best games I've ever played my entire life. Probably one of the best games we're gonna get for the next couple of years. But I definitely would have beat this boss if I didn't suck so bad, so I'm sorry guys. Now right here when I died to the Elden Beast, I actually had some flasks available that I could have used, but I just didn't for some odd reason. I don't know what I was thinking. Would it make you feel any sympathy for me at all if I told you I spent a total of 33 hours on this bow run trying to finish this? I even went and used the farming method at Palace of Moog to get to level 129, and I still have no chance at ever even beating this because I am just bad. Also, I would just like to add that this was probably the most tilting thing I've experienced in a very long time. Wait, what? I died, though. What? Can I live, please? Okay, well. That was quite the cock tease. But yeah, just to wrap things up, the bow run was definitely something super fun. I was stepping out of my comfort zone because I've never used a bow in any Dark Souls game before, so this was really fun, I'm not even gonna lie. Definitely something that I'd be super down to do again with a different build. Also, I'm down to do this on other Dark Souls games as well, but I have other games that I want to play. Starfield's gonna come out soon. I have to get more Mario content out for you guys. I love you guys. I love you guys for tuning in and sticking with me even though I've been gone for 2 weeks. If in case you were wondering, this is what I've been doing for the past 2 weeks. So I really hope that you guys enjoy this video because it spent me a really long time making it. This was definitely the hardest video I've ever made on my channel, but I had a lot of fun doing it, so I'm gonna say I will probably do this again one day. Not this exact same challenge, obviously. I'm gonna switch it up, maybe do a different weapon, maybe do a different Souls games, but still do the bow or something of the sort. I'm not too sure yet. Right now, I'm focused on making other content. But be sure to stay up subscribed so you don't miss my next Elden Ring or Dark Souls content that comes out. Maybe one day I'll hop back on this character and try and beat the Elden Beast once again, so that way I can say I was not defeated by the bow build. But as it stands right now, I was completely shredded by the bow build, which is definitely going to deal some heavy damage to my ego for the next like 5 years, so you know, it's okay though. But yeah, thank you to everybody for tuning in. Thank you for staying to the end of the video. I love you guys. It's been JD Blaze. See ya.